What's up, guys? Today's video is a little bit weird. I think I explained in the last one. I just didn't have really good footage for some reason. Throughout the swap, I normally just leave it, recording. But for some reason, I must have goofed up because it recorded sideways and it stopped intermittently. So I guess, one of the downsides, for using the phone. But it was a mixture of not paying attention and then just trying to get the car out of my buddy's garage. Basically, let me go back. Today's video, pretty much, we're just going to try and use everything that I could use. I tried for the last 2 or 3 weeks just to sort through everything, see if I could fix things. It didn't work out. I don't have any footage of putting the motor in, putting the mounts in, or anything. I think I'm just gonna have to start where the video kind of, is back to normal. So the motor's already gonna be in the car, but I'm just gonna probably show you some of the small things that I could go over specifically, and whatever else I can't find footage for, I will probably just pretty much just show you guys in person over here. So let me go through that footage real quick, and then I guess you'll see me right back here. Alright guys, it is 3 weeks or so into the swap, and I think the last video I made on it was I was trying to install the intercooler. Turned out to be a complete pain in the butt, but Brian and Dylan was able to figure out. So what we had to do was cut a little bit of the frame rail over here so it would fit, and then what was wrong with the piping? The piping just wouldn't work out. So
yeah, that Turbo XS kit was not right.
Or the CX Racing kit was pretty crappy, so we had to open it up more. So it wasn't as straightforward as we thought, and they didn't have any instructions, so it was all wrong. But the intercooler is nice, so ended up just getting a few more fittings. I'll show you the routing in a minute. But they also got some mounts for the bottom, so that is very, very sturdy. But yeah, here's the routing for the piping. So I think the only things that didn't come with this was one of the straights. And then do we use some other piping too?
Yeah, it was like a 45.
We used another 45-degree pipe.
Bend pipe or something.
So we can make it work. So there's that. And then Brian got the intake setup going right off the turbo into the MAF, and then got this HKS filter here. What else? We got the radiator plumbed up. Dylan's currently working on the wiring for this side. We have the ECU and igniter chip inside all plugged in. I'll show you guys that in a minute. But yeah, we've got most of the plumbing done. We're just doing a lot of the little stuff. So the next clip coming up, it's going to show you what we had to do to fit the pilot bushing in there. The RB20 originally wasn't automatic, so they didn't use one. And I guess the shaft for the automatic transmissions are a little bit smaller than the manuals, so we had to pretty much just Dremel it out real quick. Inside the car, we got the RB ECU all plugged in. Fed the wires through. This is a Nissan console, so we're not using this connector at the moment. This is the igniter chip that's normally on the motor. It's connected to the main harness there. And then this connector, I'm not sure what it goes to, but it goes there. It's a little clip that has the black clip there. And then we got the relay plugged in. This stuff comes with the Wiring Specialties harness. What else? I think we got, you said there was another relay in here that was plugged in?
Yeah.
Right there. We're gonna be connecting that. Oh, so I just gotta connect one of them to it, right?
Yeah, you unhooked it, it wasn't connected to the harness.
Okay, yeah, it's not.
Just gotta hook it back up.
Just gotta hook it back in there. I'll do that in a minute. We ended up having to cut the trans tunnel a little bit just to be able to fit this freaking trans in. Easiest way is probably
going custom drive shaft and getting the RB20 trans. We just didn't want to do all that. But in retrospect, we probably should have. But we ended up just welding 2 pieces to move the shifter up, because normally it'd be here, and force would just hit, obviously, the trim. So we're gonna fix this up. It's just temporary right now. And so yeah, it sits a little bit further back, but it's good. Ended up having just enough space to mount the plate on. So this is the K factory, everything here.
The next clip coming up is going to show you guys what we have to do for the downpipe. The ISR downpipe fit perfect on the turbo side, and it cleared the left-hand drive steering rack perfect. The problem we had was, I guess they used a really cheap flange or some sort of weird size, because we could not get any local flange to fit. I even bought some vibrant ones. So I'll show you guys what we had to do with that. Alright guys, I want to show you the O2 housing. Fits perfect from ISR. Clears the steering rack like so. So it's great. Only problem we're having is we're trying to weld the custom exhaust to the HKS high power, and we're having issues with the studs not lining up. So we're taking out the studs and we're just going to do a bolt and nut setup, right?
Yeah.
So it'll make it easier.
We got a vibrant
what's it called?
flange
For that, so.
And it doesn't line up with the ISR at all. And it's the same size.
Same size, because the studs don't. They're like.
They might have been tapped crooked or something.
Right, going down to the bottom of the car. Brian got the downpipe made. It's pretty freaking nice, actually. It's a wideband right there, AEM. Going into the cat, going to the exhaust. Talk about the steering rack. We ended up just looping the lines and deleting power steering, which I wanted. Other than that, we bolted the exhaust up. Now the trans, this was the hardest part. Pretty much, we had a really hard time aligning the pins to the RB. So long story short, we had to Dremel out the pilot bearing a little bit, and whenever you put it in, you want to make sure you put it all the way in until it can't go in anymore, so that you can bolt the trans up properly. And the drive shaft, we had a lot of problem with the shop because they kept messing up the measurements. For now, feels fine, and it doesn't feel like it's got any binding. So, all right, going back to where the motor is, or how we have everything going. So let's see, we got most of the things plumbed up: radiator hoses, vacuum lines. We also needed, this one thing I didn't add to the parts list, was a MAF, which was missing, as well as this aftermarket fuel pressure regulator. It needs to be set to 43 PSI at the base. Let's see what else. We got the intake piping going. The only thing we still have to figure out is the blow-off valve, factory one. It's supposed to recirculate into the piping, so we're gonna figure that out. The engine mounts, we ended up not being able to drill into it without dropping like the subframe and stuff, so we just did some quick tack welds to hold it. It'll be easy to grind off, and in case I ever want to go a different motor. But I don't plan to, but you never know. Otherwise, that's pretty much the setup here. That was pretty much all I had, or all I could use for this episode. So let me just explain to you guys the other stuff we ran into. I can't obviously show you guys underneath the car right now. I don't have a lift. But basically, I showed you guys what it looks like underneath here. Still have yet to fix that. We'll probably get there a little later. I'm having problems with fitment. So I think the drive shaft is a little too long still. Crappy part is I used a drive shaft shop twice, the same one, and they could not get my fitment right. So what we had to do is we had to take out the rear little dust boot for the tail shaft, and that kind of gave us a little bit more clearance, but it's still binding, and I'll show you guys. Just start the car, and just, I'm sure you guys can hear. So I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a lot of like crackling in there. I think the drive shaft is pretty much kind of binding in there and pushing everything forward, because if you see, I'll put the clutch in. It's not doing it right now, but typically when I put the clutch all the way in, you can hear like some sort of grinding, like maybe the flex plate's touching the flywheel. So I try and adjusted it with the little nut that goes on the other side, but that really didn't do anything. So all I'm having to do is, the engagement point is about right there, so I try not to go a little bit past that. So otherwise, let's see if you can hear it when I rev it. I'm sure you guys can hear while I'm driving too. There's a lot of like whining. It's like everything's kind of pushed forward, and so I think I'm gonna go probably one piece after I save up some money for that. It's probably a couple $100, maybe $300-400. But I need to find a different drive shaft shop because the one I used just messed up measurements twice. Anyways, that's problem one that I'm still facing. The only other problem is the speedo is a bit off. The RPMs are way off. I know this motor probably revs to like 8K, but idle's pretty perfect. Like it's right at 1,000 RPM, and it seems normal, but like that was a little bit, and there's no way I jumped up, 2,000 or 3,000 RPM just like that, just a little blip. So I'll show you, like, let me just do one quick little rev here. I think there's like a little adjustment that I have to do, but I gotta figure that out. I think it's on the actual cluster. I think just the signal that the motor is sending the cluster is a little bit different on the KA than the RB, which makes sense. I mean, different motor, different cylinders, or different number of cylinders. So that's off. The other thing that I have to show you guys is the temp gauge. So let me flip the camera. The car's only been idling for like 5 minutes, but it was warm. So it's saying it's overheating, and we spent 2 or 3 weeks trying to figure this out, why I kept overheating. So I prevented myself from driving it just because I don't want this motor to blow. And lo and behold, the car is not overheating. Let me show you guys real quick what temp's at right now. Got my little trusty thing right here. The block's right at 190. That's without a fan on. And let me show you guys that it's saying it's overheating. Yep, there we go. Yeah, it's hot and it's not hot. So I think the signal for the coolant is also off there. So I guess just this whole motor since the cluster is off. But again, the block's at like 190, 195. So normally I just wait till it gets to the H. So I guess when it gets to the H, it's right at 190. So I've got the fan switched here. Dylan helped me wire that up, but I've got a dual fan set up, and turn that on. Turns on the fans. And I normally just wait till it gets like a little bit less, maybe than the middle, and then I turn it off. This motor actually cools off pretty quick with these fans. Let me show you guys. 2000 CSM, put fans on, somehow, wired it up all the way to the switch. Can't tell you how he did it, but he did. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's got the light there. As you can see, the motors are really freaking cooled off, and it's literally only been like 30 seconds to a minute. So